let's go and kick it off. Guys, happy Friday. Welcome to the Rally Community Call. It is November 12th, and thank you for joining us. We have a very exciting agenda today. Today we have Tam, one of our art leads, our director of the art scene, speaking and giving her an art history lesson with Tam. So really exciting. She gave this speech at NYC, NFT NYC, however you'd like to say it, either way, and it was fabulous. So she's going to give the full presentation though today to us, which we're really excited about. And then I'm going to kick it over to Stephanie and Mr. Dave Young, the owner of the PlayCon. There's some really cool things to cover and show us today. And then we'll have a Q&A session. So any questions, please go ahead and type in chat. Please save maybe towards the end, and then that way we can get to those. So I'll go ahead and kick it over to Tam. Miss Tam, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you so much. Can you see my screen? Hi, everyone. I'm Tam. I'm the Director of Fine Arts at Rally. And this presentation was done for NFT.NYC, which happened last week. And today is going to be the first time that I'm going to be allowed to finish it. If you were there, you know what I mean. So I really wanted to speak to, the cryptoverse in general, about NFT aesthetics, and just how every single new art movement in history has created controversy. And what we're going through right now with crypto art is no different. So okay. So let's go and check out some of the criticism that's happening right now within the art world, and also in general with the crypto art movement. So the art world is a really funny place. It's an unregulated industry. And because it's unregulated, it overcompensates by self-regulation, basically. So the only question that the art world is always trying to answer is something art? To be or not to be art is like the eternal dilemma of the art world. And right now you have major museums and major galleries, major curators just saying NFTs are not art. And there's this debate going on and big division. So I want to go, one by one, just talking about this criticism and what it means. So imagine that you are spending the day with some friends at the MoMA and you're looking at a beautiful Mark Rothko painting. He usually does just monochrome, all red square pieces. And somebody always has to say, that's not art. My 5-year-old can do that, right? If I had one ether for every time somebody said this to me in my career, I would be a big whale at this point, or maybe at least a big tuna. But everyone just says that's not art. I can do that. Anybody can do that. And the truth is that we are humans and we have unlimited capabilities and we can do anything. You can cure cancer and build a rocket and launch it to the moon. But the matter of fact is that you didn't. It was that specific artist who made that piece and dedicated their entire life and body of work to create that piece, including NFTs. And that's why, that piece is at the museum and not your 5-year-olds. When people say something's just a JPEG, right? I think most people, especially within the art world, don't really understand and need to be educated on what digital ownership means and the importance of digital ownership. Another argument that we hear a lot about is the environmentalist argument about crypto and NFTs in general. And of course, we all know that is actually a real concern. And that's why at Rally, we have built our own sidechain, which is eco-friendly because we've built it with artists and creators in mind. And we believe they are the moral compass of society and they make industries like crypto accountable for better practices. The latest get rich quick scheme, I love this one because for the first time in history, art side of this get rich quick scheme, and I am all for it. But basically, all of these concerns are just a stand-in for the art world's real concern, which is the aesthetics of digital art and the aesthetics of the NFT movement. So I want to just ask in general a question. If any of you can imagine any of these pieces, which are some of the best-selling NFTs out there, hanging at the MoMA or at the Met or at any major museum. And I think, the art world can be best described as like uncomfortable with these aesthetics, to say the least, of some of these movements. So in my, curatorial perspective, I think aesthetics are totally subjective. Like, you might like to have a bedroom wall that is red, and other people might think it's tacky, and that's totally our freedom to think in a certain way. But what's really not objective is context of art. So what is context? Context is something that it's an art piece that's capturing a moment in history, whether it's a pandemic, a social movement, a natural disaster, a political situation, artwork that is critical and has clear opinions, artwork that might be taboo or that might be innovative, that you hadn't thought of it that way, that you hadn't seen an aesthetic quite like this one before. Conceptual art, which is the art movement that has been leading in the past 100 years. It means that the idea that art is trying to tell us about is more important than the aesthetics itself. And one of the most important things is that for a piece, for an artwork to be important or to be considered art, means that it has to be true. It has to have truth to its time, to its country, to its place. And it's not trying to like imitate or glorify the past, but it's true to its time. So if we look at the crypto art movement right now, we've seen already that these characteristics of an art movement are shaping up. So the way this movement started, and we see like just so many animals, like llamas and penguins and monkeys and just like all kinds of animals that you can imagine. It looks like my kids' like drawing book. But at the same time, you have to ask yourself, like, what is this obsession with animals? This obsession comes from the fact that these are avatars, and avatars are online identities that we get to select for ourselves in the digital universe. It's almost like our photo in our ID that, the government is choosing for us, but in crypto, we get to select it ourselves. They're going to be soon authenticated by Twitter as NFTs. And it talks about the importance of privacy and the importance of anonymity, which is a core part of this movement and in this moment in history. Another aesthetic that we see a lot in NFTs is this tech futuristic or sci-fi aesthetic, which again is super true to the movement, because the people who have built blockchains are usually, cyberpunks or people that have spent most of their lives anonymously in the computer, whether it was like playing video games or building things online since the 1990s up until today. Another aesthetic that we see a lot is like a utopian aesthetic versus a dystopian aesthetic. We see NFTs that are really beautiful, like where we don't want to be as a human race. And I think this talks about like the moment that we live in right now. It's almost a crossroads in which we get to decide whether we're building these technologies for decentralization and creating more access and more democratization of wealth and creativity, or if we're just gonna, allow governments and companies to take this very powerful technology to control us even further. So it's a commentary on the moment on society that we're living. A lot of this is video game aesthetics. That's like a big thing that you'll read in all of the art press. It's like video game aesthetics. But what does that mean? Like, we've come to see in the past few months that video games is the main utility of NFTs, or one of the main important utilities of NFTs. So that is why this aesthetic is reflecting that. A lot more criticism, and some of the aesthetics that we see says that the NFTs are very masculine. Most of the creators are men, and there's this like male gaze that NFT aesthetics have. But lately, we've also heard a lot of stories about like women empowerment through NFTs. For example, there's like fashion models that are like reclaiming their rights to their own images by, you know, minting them as NFTs and cutting out middlemen like photographers and other people. So it's interesting to see both sides of that. And sometimes we see NFTs that are like odes to the blockchain that have symbols of Bitcoin and Ethereum and Solana or whatever embedded into NFTs. And I just think it's interesting how history, you know, has always had symbols of people who are building and monarchies and royalties and churches, and history will tell like which of these symbols will like go down in history and down the line. So if we take a little bit of a look at art history, we'll see that every single new art movement that came out they were thought as completely crazy at the time. In the 1860s, the Impressionists, Monet and his friends were the first few people who started painting outdoors, and they started painting the landscape. And at the time when people just painted indoors, usually commissioned by the church or the monarchy, it was considered not important to paint the landscape. And in terms of the aesthetic, this is a close-up of Starry Night, which looks totally messy and unintentional. And the arts establishment definitely did not consider this art. And of course, right now, we've seen that Impressionist was the movement that took us from the classic era to the modern era. And the reason that this was because what were they trying to say? They were trying, at the time in Paris, the first main large-scale retail stores were opening. And there was this new concept as a society that was talking about leisure. Leisure as the idea of doing things for the sake of doing things without having an obligation to do them. And they were the first painters who painted because they wanted to paint and not because anybody was commissioning them to paint. So they're a hugely important movement, and they were rejected at first. The second one is March 17. He basically took it, signed it, and put it in a museum. And the Academy of Beaux Arts basically wrote about how insulted they were and how offensive this piece was. Of course, that's not considered art. Like, who thought of this? This is crazy. And what Duchamp was trying to say was that we live in an era in which we care more about our objects and our household comforts, that we care about traditional values like religion and family values and things like that. So Duchamp was the first person to say that there are no rules when it comes to art. Anybody can do whatever they want. And using a ready-made piece as an object is something that most artists do till this day. And he was the one who led the way to that movement. In 1922, if you read any reviews to Picasso's work, it's almost comedic how much resistance there was to his work. He was blamed for absolutely everything. He was blamed for making women less attractive in his paintings. He was blamed basically for being the catalyst to the end of civilization. And he was a very political artist who depicted a lot of the Spanish Civil Wars in his paintings. And basically what he was trying to say with Cubism, like, what is a cube? A cube is just like different ways of looking at the same thing, different angles and different perspectives of looking at the exact same object or situation. And I think the world was just not ready to have many perspectives of looking at one thing when Picasso was, starting up. But by the end of his career, he was already understood that Cubism was a major movement in history. In the 1960s, Andy Warhol's work was completely indistinguishable from advertising. Clearly, this could not be art. Like, how could this be art? But he was the first one to realize the role that advertising would have in our society. Like, to this day, like, advertising makes all of our decisions for us, control so much of how we think and what we do. And he was the first one to notice that. And there is no artist that came after Andy Warhol that was not influenced by his style. So clearly all of these movements had encountered a lot of resistance just by observing what was happening in a certain moment in history. And they ended up changing the way that culture works and how people think. And the same thing is right now happening with crypto and art. It's not a coincidence that NFTs boomed in the middle of COVID-19 when we're all forced to spend all of our days in the digital sphere. And this is what we're now going through, is a digitalization movement in which we have incessant Zoom calls, smartphone use, computer use, everything went up by huge percentages. The video game industry is now larger than Hollywood and all of North American sports combined. And of course, digital art is going to resonate with more people than it ever did. And all of crypto art is just reflecting the phenomenon that we're going through as a society. So how do we get from rejecting an art movement to making it revered? And the answer to that is museums. Museums are the ones who decide what goes down in history books. And they are retrospective by design. They're not first movers. So it takes a while until museums look at the whole landscape of what's happening and then decide, what to acquire, why, and what's important. So there's already museum curators like Michelle Kuo from the MoMA who's saying that NFTs are a logical conclusion of conceptual art. Here in Miami, which I think is one of the most open-minded cities when it comes to crypto, the Institute of Contemporary Art already acquired a CryptoPunk. It's the first museum to acquire an NFT. But there's other museums that have, very old human patrimony masterpieces like this Leonardo da Vinci. The Hermitage Museum is taking those masterpieces and turning them into NFTs, because if we have to move to Mars or climate change is going to make these pieces melt or something, there's always going to be a record of them on the blockchain. And I think, it's very interesting what's going to happen in the future with museums and the crypto art movement, and how slowly we're going to see the transition of this movement from being reviled to revered. So I'm glad that today I could finish this talk. Thank you for being here, for giving the opportunity. And let me know if you have any questions about art.
Well, Tam, we are happy that you're able to finish that. That was great. Any questions that you have for Tam, please insert in the chat now or through the rest of the call, and then she can definitely answer some of those for you guys, because that was amazing. Gave a lot of context and background and a lot of exciting stuff. So thank you, Tam, again. Stephanie, Dave, it is up for you guys. I know you guys have some really cool stuff to show us. So I'll kick it over to Stephanie and take it away.
Cool. All right. Hey, everyone. Stephanie here. Dave, you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Let's see if I can. I'm very nervous about this screen sharing thing. Oh, man, where'd it go? All right. Can everyone see my screen? I can't see you. Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
All right, cool. So Dave, hey, what's up? Dave's on audio. He's on the road, but such a committed community member. He was like, I'm definitely joining the call. Let's make this happen. And so as part of that, he actually recorded a demo reel that we can play while we're talking to him. So Dave is a real pro move here. Everyone take note. we can all aspire to be Dave one day. So for those of you who don't know Dave Young, which I'm sure for a lot of community members, the number is small because he's such a leaned in and active player in our space, no pun intended. The PlayCon launched in spring of this past year. And Dave, in addition to being a creator, coin owner, is also a developer and a member of our developer community council. And then also this summer, he got a big grant from us via the Rally Network, the Treasury, to also continue to build some of the stuff he's been working on. So we're going to talk through a bunch of that stuff. But before we get started, Dave, you want to say hey, introduce yourself, tell us a bit about Play and your ethos and vision for what you're building?
Definitely. So I'm Dave. I've done a lot of different software kind of things in my life, and I've been a community developer. the reason why I wanted to create Play was because I got very fascinated with this space earlier this spring when Brett Kinsella in the bot community introduced me to Rally. And I had a very large Facebook game developer group that I was trying to figure out how to do rewards programs for. So I did a lot of deep diving and realized that Rally would be perfect for that group and for game developers in general, so that we could do lots of things, help people publish, and continue our mission of giving a voice to the little guy. So we founded the Coin. I've been able to gather a team around me of some trusted friends and people that I've worked with and people that I've worked for. So we have a team of about 20 people now working full time on different Play projects, and it's been amazing to be part of the community, Stephanie.
Cool. Thank you. Great intro. And then for anyone curious, the PlayCoin does have its own website and web world. So you should definitely check that out if you want to dig in. So let me get this video started. So I'm going to just start playing it. There's no audio. Don't worry, everyone. You're not missing anything. So Dave, just to kick things off, in the beginning of your video, you walk through some of the web apps and the games that you've built over the past few months. Can we start just by talking about the web apps?
Yeah, definitely. So we built the voting tool earlier this year to allow communities to basically run polls on things that they were interested in getting votes on. So they use Creator Coin. We could just pause it there if you like. They use Creator Coin to sort of vote on things that are important to them. This was an Alley Coin poll of like a pumpkin contest they had in their community. So it uses their Creator Coin to figure out how much weight is behind a vote, and creators can come in, set up one of these polls and do it with a time limit, or with lots of different options with privacy and vote weights and things like that. KKCR has also made good use of it to elect new auctioneers into his community. So we've had a couple of creators use it very well already.
Very cool. And I should have said, I mentioned it earlier, a lot of this was powered. You were already building a ton, and then the Treasury voted unanimously to support your continued development of this work. And so for all of you who voted, thank you. We're really lucky to have Dave continuing to build in our space. So sorry, Dave, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, sure. This tool also allows you to share one in case you want the public to kind of know about it and come in. So it's a neat way to have them come in and discover your tool. We also built an auction tool which allowed creators to come in and put stuff up for auction. You can also authorize other sellers to auction stuff off on your coin as well. And those auctions are listed. So it can be anything at all. The fulfillment process is very flexible, and somebody pays natively in your Creator Coin. You get an email that says they won, and next thing you know, you've got an auction that's won, and you can go on. So it's kind of like a miniature little eBay, if you will, for Creator Coin. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles of Ebill. Let's just give it a pause there, probably. Yep. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles of eBay, but we're taking feature requests, and it's fully functional. So we'll be putting out the URL for that, along with lots of other tools later on today.
Very cool. All right. And so hopefully the video has continued to advance. And so moving on to games, can you tell us about some of the games that your community has built and how they all work with Creator Coin?
Yep, we've got about 10 different games in development right now. 7 of those are at the end stage of completion. So you've got lots of little casual games that are based on web things that are traditionally very hyper casual or casual for a wide audience to be able to play. So that ranges from like gem collecting, clicking things, to like pinball games and like whack-a-mole and things like that. These projects are really interesting because we're funding a lot of them. So we basically took a lot of different teams out of the game developer community on Facebook, brought them over to the Discord, ran a game jam this summer, and got a bunch of people who are interested in developing. So 4 of those teams have gone on to create little mini games for us. And we start with nicely, Rob. That was Rob getting darts thrown at him. We'll talk about how these are customizable, but they're basically setting up small little hyper casual games that we can throw up on the web under an arcade that every creator is able to use in their economy. So each game that we release has got customization to it. For example, a default customization, Stephanie, is that every coin has a coin logo. So coin logos will be overlaid on things like coins, anything that's round, stuff like that. and your coin name will be in there if there's a title to be in there as well. This is one of our neat little platformer games, actually made by somebody who's still in high school that won the game jam. And so they have a neat little 2D platformer that they've been working on. And in this one, it gets customized by putting the creator's face over the hero of the game. So there are like little pain expressions and death expressions and things like that. And we're making it very simple for creators to customize.
Do you want me to move the video to where you show customizations, or just let it go?
Yeah, you can let it go, because
Okay.
touch is kind of built in here. Yeah,
There
this
it
is a traditional whack-a-mole game, and this shows how we're using 3D representations of creators or other people to come up. And I'll talk a little bit later in the video about how that actually happens. But the notion here is that these are also customizable games that take not only images, but 3D representations of creators to come in. This is a role-playing game called Sortie. That's still the kind of code name for it, which is going to allow for a large variety of customizations for things to be able to get picked up inside the world, or voice lines or text lines that the enemies or bosses will say. And our approach to making these games are to take some templates that we can find, and then we customize those as well. That's allowed us to get lots of projects done in relatively a short amount of time. Let's see what's next here. Okay, this is interesting because I want to be able to, we can pause it too for a sec. I wanted to be able to explain how this works for creators. So essentially, when we are allowing users of the arcade to buy credit bundles, we're not running like a crypto arcade where coins are there to be stolen or hacked or given away or anything like that. We wanted to make sure that it was a highly secure thing for users to be able to use and have a good experience. So to make that happen, we created essentially a full app store where there are server-based in-app purchasing going on here. The users purchase credit bundles for their creator. So I can buy like 100 alley credits, for example, and then spend those, like a quarter per game, or if they're in-app purchase items, I spend the credits. So I use the creator coin to buy credits, and then I spend those. We can also use that system to do to let creators pre-buy credits for their community, or do credit drops for their community. We can advance now.
Cool.
And the arcade comes with full economic reporting for you, so you know like lots of what the game sessions look like and how much revenue you're making. We can pause here too. This is one of the cool parts, is that the platform itself supports it's creator oriented. So it's not just games up on a page. Each game is got connections to game sessions, which are creator specific. So creators are publishers on this platform. That means if there are leaderboards, they're specific to that creator's community. Because who cares if you're, among 4 or 5 different communities, you want to get the high score for your community. So although there are high scores that go across entire games, the leaderboards are creator specific. The game events are defined by the developers for a game. Then you can hook into those. So if a big boss goes down, you can get a Discord message. If your high score gets beat, a Discord message could show up in a channel to help bring engagement from the outside into the game.
Cool.
The customization, yeah, it is kind of neat. And you could do lots of different things with that because they're server-to-server signals. So you can trigger rewarding of an NFT. We're allowing creators to specify NFT collections that they want to hand out based on certain game events that occur. So if you collect an item and you want an NFT to fly into somebody's wallet because of that, that's what this platform allows you to do. We also let people do, like I said, customizations. You can take a picture of your face so it shows up different emotions, or record voice lines. Normally, if you're a creator and you want a game for yourself, you've got to go hire somebody to do it. Here, we're building the games and letting people upload the assets which get shown inside the game. So it makes it very easy for creators to immediately use these and monetize their communities.
I think you have some, like, you walk through some of that stuff here.
Oh yeah, here it is. Right now, we're letting people do faces, voices. It'll bring in your coin image, obviously. We also have a partnership with Ready Player Me, which is a custom avatar creation system that's useful for the Metaverse. So in this, creators can go out and build. We have our own partnership with them, so you can create your own avatar. You start by uploading a selfie, and it determines what your basic feature. Is that a word, Stephanie? Facial features are, and from there you can kind of customize it. They'll also sell you custom skins and things like that. But the beauty of it is that here you can bring it into Player Arcade, and any of our games which use an avatar will be able to use the creator's avatar.
Very cool.
So this already works. Yep. And this is an example of an endless runner, which brought in a custom avatar at runtime, and you're running and collecting coins and things like that. So we hope to make lots of different uses of the full body avatars and the heads, of course, so that you have things like whack-a-mole and you can whack on people's heads. This just shows a simple web interface for Play Arcade. It's very simple to use. It's going to have lots of dashboard metrics for developers to come in and sort of upload a game. The games are right now based in Unity. So we have let people define in-app purchase items, just like Apple does for iOS or Google does for their mobile games. Events, customizations, which then the creators can then override. So basically, this is a developer portal that you see. The publisher portal is coming this week, where you can override all that cool stuff and then just set things up. So you can customize a little bit, not at all, or a lot. Either way, you'll have the opportunity to monetize on all of these games. And you won't have to pay for the games. They're free to use, and we just do a revenue split with creators.
Nice.
I'm going to see what's coming next. I kind of forgot. It was around 2 a.m. right now when I recorded it. This is a view of Unity. We made it very easy for game developers to sort of take a plugin, drop it in, configure it, and then run it. So it does calls out to the server. It gets different items for credit bundles. The source code is very easy to understand, and it's written in a way to make it real simple. You can do very simple game sessions and high scores, or you can use the in-app purchasing and game customization features. It's all here in this simple example, like a few hundred lines of code to do.
Nice.
We also have a very secure high score system, by the way, so it can't be hacked. Well, that's not a challenge, that's a statement. If we want to pause right here, this is an important statement for me to make. Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, sorry. I'll go back to your statement.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. Play Arcade. So there's an actual Rally account named Play Arcade, because this is what is used as like an escrow account to go back and forth between creators. So we've gone out and purchased like 10 Rally or so of every different creator coin out there. And the way that this will work for all creators who might be concerned about the flow of transactions, what have you, is that we intend for this account to lock up a lot of creator coin and lock up a lot of Rally inside Rally.io. We don't intend on just getting the coin and then liquidating it. If we come to a point where we want to look at liquidating creator coin, then we'll work that out with the creator and maybe trade play for creator coin or do a schedule of selling or whatever. So if you're very successful and your players are buying a ton of stuff, you're not going to have it just drop in your economy. So we want to be a good citizen here. We don't have any plans of selling any creator coin at all right now.
I love that. It just shows what a inclusive thinker you are as a builder. So yeah, go on. Oops.
You're going to say what's next, I think?
Yes, I was going to ask you what's next? What's coming? You've done so much
definitely.
already.
Let me tell you. One of the things we do in Play Hall, in Play every quarter or so is a town hall where we have like an hour-long meeting. This is a slide from that where we just talk about the different projects we have going on. There's also a little mention of Life Play, which is our kind of philanthropy arm that we've been using to fund a lot of field trips and sport trips and camping and things like that. We've actually hired somebody full-time to work on that project to bring Rally out as rewards programs for children in schools and expand that tremendously and file for full nonprofit status on that. So that's actually going to go full legit big time in 2022. We've been able to, we've taken a lot of donations from creators, some on this call, and they're very thankful. And the fund is up to about $100,000 right now that we're still able to just send people out. We do little grants of $500 to $2,000 to the kids who need it, basically. So that's been very cool. Yeah. We did a game jam this summer too. And we're going to do another one maybe in December or January to get people developing on Rally. And we also have the Creator Mastermind we're going to do a lot more with over the coming year to talk more about tokenomics and building creator communities.
And
that's just a separate thing.
Yeah, and then I know you and KT have been working on the How to Rally series, and I think he told me there's a web page coming for that.
Yeah, we have all kind of web pages coming for a few different ones. We are setting up a few different domains for a few different things, including a PlayCon that we're running in January 2022. I wanted to put this slide in here to give a shout out to Mason and Allie because we're working with them to create a special NFT game for them.
Very cool.
It's a really cool project. So PlayCon is coming first week or so of January, and it's going to be for all Rally creators to come. We're going to have panels on crypto gaming, NFTs, what's going on with play. There'll actually be some celebrities from the gaming world there, both role-playing games, board games, and video games. So we're going to do a little call for speakers. Anybody wants to come. We'll also talk about play, but I thought it'd be fun to put a little community con up where we have just a lot of playful activity going on. So we actually are starting. Oh, that little guy there was the NFT for ticket sales that go on sale on Monday for the first round VIP.
There he is.
There he is. Yeah. And that
Nice.
was done by Noel. Pretty cool. We also have some NFT projects releasing next week or so, which are the fan and SuperFan NFTs, which are going to give access to Discords in a special way. So the SuperFan Discord is going to, can you pause that right there, please?
Yes, got it.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Nope.
The SuperFan NFT is going to let the bearer access the dev channels where we talk about the game and speak. So, and the fan NFT is going to allow game fans to come and look, but not talk. So basically they get an eye onto what's going on, but not interact, and i.e. bother the developers or things like that. But SuperFans they can bother them all they want because they're SuperFans.
I love that. I can't wait to see that come to life.
Well, we have like 20 Discord channels that are locked down. I was like, we should show these, but how to do it, you know? We also have a really cool NFT project that we've been working on. You could just let it roll now,
Okay.
which is called Loco Locals. So we wanted to add a little bit of a lot of utility behind NFTs. So I went back to one of the guys I went to junior high school with, who has always been such an amazing artist, and we're creating passion-based NFTs. So if you've lived in a place that you have a lot of affinity for, or visit a place, these will give you access to things like rewards, discounts, like the old coupon books used to.
I
So if
have
you own,
one
like,
for my hometown. I need an NFT
Exactly.
version.
That's what we're going to do here is let those be digital access to that kind of thing, and then do a lot of B2C. We're going to do a lot of B2C legwork and sales outreach to get people benefits by holding those NFTs. So real life benefits for the NFTs. That's going to be an ongoing series that we release out, and that's Derek Lavoie, who's the artist on that one for us.
Amazing. I need to ask you one more question before I hand it back to Grant. When you say we, how many people are working on all this stuff, Dave?
Like 21.
Yeah, you got a crew. I still remember our first ever conversation this summer when you told me you're building a business on the PlayCoin. This is not just like a side hustle for you. You're building a whole world.
No, this is full time. I'm trying to recruit good people and pay them what they're worth. So we deal with all those ups and downs of tokenomics, and we're still on the small curve, so it's been quite a challenge there too. So we pay and play. We also pay in USD too, but we try and pay and play and keep everybody rolling with everything. So it's been tremendous amount of fun. And the more the merrier. If you are a talented person who wants to work on some cool projects, please come to me.
Cool. Grant, you want to take it away? Thank you, Dave.
Dave, thank you. Stephanie, thank you. Great presentation as always. Really excited to see, some of the metaverse takes that you guys have in the vision of play. And that kind of transitions me to my next question. Tam, I have one question after you, but I might as well strike while the iron's hot with Dave. Jeremiah, owner of the Jowl Coin, wants to know, hey, Dave, what is your vision for your games in the metaverse?
So the vision is quite simple. We want creators to have to add more utility to their coins. We want players to be able to come in and be able to carry badges from game to game so that people can see, hey, I recognize you as being a great game player, almost like a Steam for the Rally Creator Coin universe.
Awesome. I love that. Really excited for PlayCon. Please, I'd love for a lot of the community to show up for that and support. I think that's really fantastic what you're doing over there. So really excited and congratulations on everything.
A little bit deeper into that, Jeremiah, is next year we are going to be looking into some of the social, online, and VR-based stuff because I'm a massive Oculus Quest fan, and that's the world that we're probably going to dive a little bit more deeply into.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that context, Dave. Tam, from Jeremiah as well, what is your forecast for NFTs in the metaverse? Pretty general question. See if you can answer that with a pretty straight line.
Into the future. So I think that the NFTs are going to be like the doors by which we walk in and out of like different spaces in the metaverse. They will unlock you know, certain events or concerts or things that we can do within this world. They will play, I think there will be like different functions for NFTs. For example, whatever we look like, whether it's our profile pictures or our avatars or what we wear or what our homes and our backdrops and our chairs, by maybe there will be like a Herman Miller NFT chair for the metaverse and a Balenciaga bag. And right now we're starting to see these collaborations happen within, you know, in the video game world, like Balenciaga collaborating with Fortnite and things like that. But there in the metaverse, you'll probably be able to take, just like, you know, PlayCon is saying, yourself, your NFTs, your metaverse, your home, like from environment to environment in a more flexible way, from game to game, and not just like be within an ecosystem of a game. And I also think that creator tokens will play a big role in a more flexible way. So NFTs will unlock like specific access to specific events, or you can own like a specific digital art piece or profile picture or avatar or good. And then the tokens will be used in a more, you know, fungible, flexible way within those creative economies, so that you can buy a lot of many different things in the metaverse.
I love that. Well, Tam, you predicted the future. We're all going to hold you to that now.
Let's see what happens.
That's right. That's right. Well, guys, thank you, everyone. Tam, of course, finishing your speech from NFT.NYC. Stephanie, thank you for talking to Dave. And Dave, thank you for that great presentation. We're really excited to see what comes of that. That concludes it. Everyone, thank you. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a good Friday. Have a good weekend. Take care, guys.